tell you, the heart came first, the tongue came after, in terms of its operation. But the dhikr of the heart is where we're trying to get, and that is by contemplating Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, contemplating the proofs, for example, that are in the universe pointing to His oneness. As the sha'ir and the man of Allah, Muhammad ibn Habib, rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy on his soul, he mentioned, إِنَّمَا الْكَوْنُ مَعَانٍ قَائِمَةً بِالسُّوَاءِ, that the existence itself is nothing but meanings that are existing through forms. Everything has a meaning behind it. He said, whoever realizes that, كَانَ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْعِبَادِ, is a person of weight, or even you can say it's a person who understands and considers the relationship that we have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But also, when that happens, the fruits of that are what people call asrar. These are called divine secrets. That when a person contemplates Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a lot like, and for Allah is the greatest of examples, it's a lot like the intimacy that one should have with their spouse. There are things that you know about them that no one else knows. But you only got them because you had the kind of relationship that would allow for those kind of unveilings to occur. They feel comfortable enough with you, and they trust you enough that you won't talk to everybody and tell everybody everything, that they start to tell you intimate details about themselves. Well, that is the actual aim and objective of dhikrullah, to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He has something He wants to tell you. He has something He wants to show you. But He's not just going to spill it out to everyone, because why? Allah knows His own value, ta'ala. He knows Himself. He knows His value. He knows His weight. But you have an invitation. In La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, whether you're Senegalese, American, Somali, it doesn't, all that stuff, man, that's just temporary stuff. Your ruh, your soul is from before, and once Allah creates it, it will never die. You're just a soul craft. That's all you are. So the opposite paradigm is what we're seeing in this world, is that we who are, excuse me for saying this, but basically a sack of filth. That's what we are. We eat food, it becomes rotten in our bodies, we have to dispel it. In the meantime, we're just sacks walking around. And then when we leave this world, we're going to the grave, we're just worm food. How much value can we put on this self? This physical limb. How, this body, how can we put so much weight on it? Because we forget about the gravity and the worth, our own self-worth, our own self-value. We've forgotten it. We don't see it. Rather, we are interested in purchasing an identity, as mentioned before, that these corporations want us to buy. And we don't really want to know who we really are. So the remembrance that comes through limbs is to engage the limbs in what Allah Ta'ala has commanded. That's how you remember Allah with your limbs. So you can't find someone who says, Na'am, ana majdoob. Na'am, I've been, divinely attracted. Ana waliullah, I'm a friend of God. Ana sahib al-fadl wal-asrar. I possess grace from God and secrets. And their limbs are in a state of disobedience. That's not dhikr. It's not lip service. A person who's truly in the dhikr of Allah, in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their limbs have khushu'. Their limbs are, as one is inside the prayer, their limbs are like that outside the prayer. Why? Because they're stuck, seeing something. If a cop was to roll up in here right now and there's somebody here illegally, they'd probably get stiff. They change the way they look because they know that the cop's at the door. But likewise, when someone is in the remembrance of Allah, their limbs cannot disobey Allah. And if they do, they don't stay on that. Someone asked, and a friend of this is from the ulama of the Salaf, they asked Imam Sha'rani, is it possible for someone who is a friend of Allah to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And the answer is yes, we're human. We're not incapable of sin. But a person in that state, they can't maintain it. They can't keep going in that state. Why? Because it hurts their soul too much to disobey the one that they love. And that's what this is about. Now, when you look at it, Salah itself has all three aspects. Salah has all three aspects inside of it. That's why it says, وَأَقِيمَ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. and establish the salah for my remembrance. It's full remembrance, the salah. But the real salah is that a person has the state that they're in prayer, which should be maximized, should happen outside, standing, sitting, and reclining. That's true salah. That's true connection. So as much as someone might be able to show off in the masjid, for example, maybe they have beautiful qira'ah. Maybe they have beautiful qira'ah. They can recite beautifully in the way that the Quran, in the way that the Sunnah demands. But it's all outward. While they're standing in prayer, they have no relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Furthest, we mentioned this story before about a man who was praying salah, for example, and he's praying with the jama'ah, and the jama'ah makes a mistake, the imam makes a mistake. No one notices but him. He says, what? Subhanallah. The imam doesn't listen. He keeps on praying. At the end, he says, no, we have to correct this mistake. Why is this? No one else noticed anything. Oh, no, I'm for sure. You see, every day I come here, and I have a shop that has 4 levels to it. Every day I come here for the prayer, and today, well, when I'm in the prayer, here's what happens. I do inventory of each level for each rak'ah. I just go through in my mind what's on each level. He said, today I got to level 3. A person should not have that kind of, if you have that kind of relationship with God while in the prayer, imagine outside. Remember, he said, remember me and I will remember you. So if we're not remembering him, where are we? Now, the reality of dhikr is to forget all but the one being remembered. So when Allah says, فَاذْكُرُونِي, what he means by that is, forget everything else. كُلُّ مَا سِوَاهُ تَعَالَى. In other words, put everything in its proper place. If you're worried about your job, who's the one who gave you the job? Who's the one who gives you the cash? Who's the one who gives you the car? Who's the one who gives you the wife? Who's the one who gives you the house? Who's the one who gives you the health? Who's the one who gives you the self? Who's the one who gives you everything that you need to be able to maintain in life? You see, he gave it to you and I really without our even asking. And so he can take it away without even having to tell us about it. But the true dhakir, the one who's in that place, the one who has listened and accepted the invitation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's an invitation. The one who accepts the invitation he knows and she knows how to put everything in its proper place. Ala, inna awliya Allahi la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. Alas, the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la khawfun alayhim. They're not afraid, wa la hum yahzanun, and they do not grieve. We should aspire to be Allah's friends. Because Prozac and Wellbutrin and all these different medications, they can only do so much for us. You might not feel the anxiety, but your heart is still frustrated. Why? Because it misses its friend. You ever had a chum? You ever had an old buddy? You ever had a homie that you grew up with that disappeared? Maybe got shot? For some of us that are living in difficult times. I have some who left and got shot. You miss their company. But what about Rafiq al-A'la, as the Prophet peace be upon him called Allah Azza wa Jal? His last words, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, were, ila Rafiq al-A'la, to the greatest companion. That's how he ended up that's how any of us got here. It was his desire to have his friend. He went to the Mount Hira. Did he go there because he wanted to become a prophet? Did he go there because he wanted to become a king, a politician, a ruler? La abadan. He went there because he wanted to be with his Lord. Right? That's how we got there. That's how any of us are in this room, is because of a person's desire to be with their friend. Rafiq al-A'la. So it behooves us then, saying that we're followers of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we have the same goal and the same objective, which is to become befriended by God. Rafiq al-A'la, the greatest of friends. And we are intimate creatures. We need friends. We're social creatures. We don't live by ourselves. So what greater friend and what greater sociability than with Allah Azza wa Jal in the late hours of the night that extends into midday. Until there's no forgetting whatsoever. As a recompense for this, he says, "Al-Kurkum, I will remember you.